Thank you, Mike. All right, everyone's ready remotely? We'll get started here. Good evening and welcome to the April 27th, 2020 regular meeting of the School Committee of the Town of Foxborough. We have Mr. Yukna, Mr. Canfield, Mr. Reuter remote, and Ms. Lord, Dr. Mello, Dr. Barrows, myself, and Mr. Pearson here in the Town Hall. And we are expecting our new Director of Student Services candidate for an interview in approximately,
I think he's maybe walking in the door now.
5-10 minutes. But before we get to that, Dr. Barrows, we have our COVID-19 update. I know I was very much hoping this meeting was going to be a, heading back to school next week meeting, and it's not, as we all know. I think we're really disappointed about the way the school year has been truncated for our students and our teachers and our families. So it was a lot, I guess, to cover in this week's COVID-19 update, so I'll let you get to it.
No, we were definitely very saddened with the news that came out from the governor, and we had hopes, and maybe that they were, high hopes, and we know what's happening across the country, and obviously it's the safety of our students and our staff, which is paramount. But at the same time, we miss our students, and it's just not the same as not having them in the school building. And to have it be final and to know that the next number of weeks will be remote learning, we definitely with heavy hearts. Mm-hmm. But we absolutely continue to think of all of our students and families and wish them good health. And I think the hardest part is we know how important relationships are, and that's where we really build with students is relationships. And if you didn't have strong relationships, it would make it harder. But at the same time, when you're not present face to face, that definitely brings more disappointment and sadness on the side of the schools by not being in schools. And at the same time, we know our students are missing out on the activities, the sports, the plays, the after-school clubs, and all of the things that they do. And knowing that we're not going to have those this spring, that is also definitely disappointing for our students. So as the closure brings the loss of face-to-face time with our teachers and the significant events and end-of-year celebrations, what we want parents to know is that there's a lot of conversation behind the scenes and talking about how we can take these really significant moments that come with the end of school and the celebrations and still do the best that we can to acknowledge how important and significant those events are for our students. Those end-of-year celebrations are at every grade level, at all levels, schools, and it's something that we want to make sure that to the best of our ability within the guidelines of the health protocol and safety that we can do something that's going to acknowledge and help bring some kind of semblance of closure to the end of the school year for sure, and honor those time-honored traditions, although we know that they will definitely look differently. Some of the things at the high school level, there's definitely a lot of conversation when it comes to those things for our seniors. Our heart breaks for seniors. It's for families and for our students and all of the events they've looked forward to from preschool all the way up, and to know that that has to look differently. We're going to do our absolute best to be able to make them meaningful and to really acknowledge all of their hard work and to celebrate our seniors, because we know that they will go on and make us proud and do awesome things. With that, some of the things that come to mind: class night and scholarship night. Information will be coming out from the high school on this, but our intention is to have those virtually. Mm-hmm. We will have them still air on the same day and at the same time. Mm-hmm. So then that way you still have as much normalcy as possible with the anticipation of what that's going to look like and speeches and those things recorded ahead of time, but it will go out at the scheduled day and time for class night and scholarship night. When it comes to graduation, there's a lot of creative thinking behind that, but at the same time, we know that we have to work within the guidance and public health and what we can and can't do, what we can control and what we can't control. So as part of that, we're going to be sending out a survey tomorrow to senior students and to senior parents that is going to help inform the decisions that we make going forward. And that is on the idea of virtual graduation or virtual graduation, postponing the date, having that as a backup plan, because at the same time, we don't know what the summer will look like as far as guidance and social distancing. But again, we're doing a lot of creative thinking behind the scenes. We want to be able to get some ideas from parents, not for them to make the decision, but to help us inform our decision so that we can make it as meaningful as we can going forward.
Thank you.
Remote learning, we will continue with remote learning through the end of the school year. We received Friday night, actually, updated guidance from the Commissioner of Education. It's a 25-page document that we're using to continue as we adjust with the feedback that we get weekly from students and families and teachers, and plan and adjust our plans as we move forward. I will say that in looking through all of the guidance so far, we feel that we're really well positioned. For example, it talks about what are the most critical standards for students at each grade level to focus on from here to the end of the year so that they can have those skills to be successful in the next grade level. We've been focusing on power standards for that. In addition, it is continuing to focus on school safety, connection for students, and that the challenge is we know for our parents and caregivers and families that are juggling at home all of the remote learning responsibilities. So again, if parents have questions, please reach out to teachers because they might not know if you're struggling. So that's really important as we continue to adjust and move forward. But again, it's to focus on teaching the content standards that are most critical for students to be successful for the next grade level. That's where we're focusing from here until the end of the school year. And again, making sure that we move all students toward successful engagement and addressing the fundamental needs of our students. We continue to have more families access our food service on Mondays and Thursdays each week. So that is really important. And again, the goal is to meet our needs of our students, engage them, reaching out to those that may not be engaged, and if parents have questions, to please reach out to students. As far as what we're waiting on to come at this point in time from the Department of Education is more guidance on critical operations that have to do with closing out the school year remotely. We will be receiving more information that has to do with graduation, actually, and grading. They're going to be sending out more guidance there. And then for us to continue to adjust and do what we can to best meet the needs of all of our students. I don't know if there's anything else that you can think of that I missed to add.
I think the two things I would add, one that you sort of touched upon, if parents have questions or they think their child is struggling, please reach out to the teacher. Don't wait. Don't let days and days go by. Please reach out. They're eager to hear your feedback, and they are certainly there to assist. And the other sort of piece that goes with that is we've been launching a parent survey each and every week. And we've been using that data. It's been extremely informative to us to adjust our learning plans, and the teachers look forward to seeing that. So it does remain open only for 48 hours. So if you get it and you can respond, I think it only takes less than a minute to respond to. We also launched a student survey this week for students in 7 through 12 to get their direct feedback, which was also super helpful. So great participation rate by the kids. They did an awesome job of giving us their feedback.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I think one different thing that has happened between April 6th, our last meeting, and now is the providing our elementary students with an email.
Thank you.
Could you speak to that a little bit
Yes.
so that I know you're working on the face-to-face video conferencing with the younger students and their families.
And I had that right on my list as number one and skipped right over that. Thank you. So when we talk about the connection with students and face-to-face through check-ins virtually, we are going to be able to do that now with Office 365 and Teams for Education. We had not been able to do that previously because you have to have an email address through Microsoft Office. That's what allows us to do this in a secure, safe environment for our students. And by having that, they can then connect through the virtual conferencing check-in with their teachers. So teachers, all of the back-end work from technology has been going on for the last couple of weeks. Teachers were then introduced, set up teams, classrooms last week, and then we'll be reaching out through video face-to-face conferencing with their students this week. So that's been a huge undertaking from the technology side. At the same time, all of the work that was put into that is at the same time put in with WebEx, which is another platform, which is Zoom-like, where you'll be able to see more tiles with faces at a time. And that will be rolling out this week. We're waiting on something from WebEx, actually, where they've had an issue on their end. But again, those two platforms, the Microsoft Office 365 is one we use at the secondary level. It allows us to provide a safe, secure environment for our students.
And if you are an elementary parent who is having trouble logging into the email, you should contact the building principal?
We actually sent to all parents a video tutorials, 4 quick video tutorials so they can rewatch. But if they have any problems at all, please contact the teacher or the principal and we'll be able to help them get right on. But video tutorials based on our Foxborough website should be really helpful for them.
Can I just add one clarifying point? Although we've administered these email addresses to students, they won't be able to email. They won't be able to email their teachers or their friends. It's really just for the purposes of logging in, and there are a lot of constraints. It's really just for that purpose right now.
For the K through 4th grade.
The K through 4. And even those parents who may have middle and high school students and who are familiar with the functionality of Teams, that's really not the purpose for the elementary. It really is exclusively at this time just for the video conferencing feature. And the teachers are learning it this week. So I had one video conference with a teacher who said to her parents, I really need you to be patient with me because I've never done this before and I'm learning. And sometimes the parents and the kids are helping the teachers as they're learning too. They also have video tutorials, but it will be a bit of a learning curve, but they're all excited to see their students. And I know their students are going to be happy.
Yeah, I know they will be as well. Thank you for that. There was one other thing I wanted
Brent has a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brent.
Just follow up. Can y'all hear me okay? First. Great. Dr. Barros, what's the WebEx going to be used for? I guess I heard that Teams is being used at the different levels. What's the plan for WebEx, or am I mixing them up?
So Microsoft Office is really our preferred method through Teams. But when you use that application, you can only see 4 tiles at the same time. So the teacher is one. And elementary teachers, they may not want to have a full class because managing in a classroom and then managing multiple students, particularly at an elementary level, because we want it for the social emotional connection for students. So that might be okay for elementary, but at the same time, there might be times when they want to be able to see more than 4 students at a time. They're still there, but again, we know it's the connection for the students wanting to be able to see their classmates at the same time. So by going to that platform, even though Microsoft Teams says by the end of the month, they're going to expand it to where you'll see more than 4 tiles at a time, WebEx would allow us to have that platform to where we can have more that you can see at once.
Thank you for the context.
Rob, did you have any questions?
I'm good right now, thank you.
I did want to ask you about transitions from 4th to 5th and 8th to 9th. I was texting with a mom of an 8th grader earlier today, and she said her child was worried about just, are they just going to send me up to the high school? So I know, we know this, but I think, a little reassurance might be a good idea for both the kids and the parents, because those transition times are really, can be anxiety producing, from the parent perspective, I know that, but also for the kids, and particularly this year where our usual traditions are not going to be, we're not going to be able to have our field days and our step-up days and our lunch at the Ahern for the 4th graders and our lunch at the high school for the 8th graders. So we're going to work on that.
We already are. Yeah. So actually, I had a conversation with Ms. Frazier today, and she had a conversation with a parent of a 4th grader asking the exact same question of transitioning to the middle school. So when we think about where everybody belongs, our program for transitioning to the middle school, we're already starting to talk about how can we do that in a different way with smaller groups within the health guidelines to provide all those opportunities for our students. So I will say that principals are they're on this, and they are thinking about creative solutions, and as further guidance comes out, we'll be flexible, but that is our priority to make sure that our students are best served in a way that they are comfortable with those transitions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Richard, did you have any COVID-19 update questions?
I was just going to highlight the last thing you said, and you mentioned the most critical standards, that our principals and our leadership is very, very focused on the key foundation points that are necessary to move us forward. So attention to most critical standards has to be the baseline, and people should hear that. It's not going to look the same, it's going to look different, but we are going to focus where focus needs to be done. And transitions are critical for administrators, and they all know it. And so I think people should hear that I'm confident in your leadership, but I'm confident that the intention will be in the right place. And it doesn't mean things are going to get left, but it's that you have to know in these times, you have to triage what's important, what's critical, and we got to stay in those places. It's going to create stability going forward. So thank you for that. Thank you to the principals that are on the call listening, that to focus where focus needs to be. And that's, we have to hear that, and that's really critical for us to be aware of and be sensitive and understanding and patient, I think.
I just had one more thing about transitions. Some of our probably most interested and anxious parents might be our incoming kindergarten parents. So a letter is going home from our elementary principals regarding our rescheduling of the kindergarten screening and many of the FAQs that kindergarten parents may have for their incoming students.
Oh, that's
So
good to
that
know.
information was pretty comprehensive, and I believe it either went out today or tomorrow.
Excellent.
And the principals are sending, and they have been, weekly updates to parents with a lot of that information as well. And we do ask for patience as we get guidance on things, and we're making decisions as quickly as we can. But at the same time, to your point, we want to be able to do it so we have our kids that are the reason that the transitions, for them to be comfortable and to be excited and to not lose out. So we've got some really creative principles, and like I said, they're on it.
Yeah, good.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, Brent, go ahead.
Sorry,
You're on mute.
Mike. No, thanks. Started talking. Just a update around students who may receive in-building services and things of that nature. I guess what's the status of that? Trying to jump through all the hoops that are required, and it's many, for trying to provide those services, knowing of course that it's going to be a fraction of what we can do, but I guess where are we with that?
So following the guidance that came out from the Department of Education, individual remote learning plans for our students on IEPs were mailed out last week. IEP meetings are starting virtually. They are starting this week. They've been scheduled, so we're continuing with those. And those parents, if they have any questions, to contact their liaison, but they're reaching out to schedule those meetings. And then also teachers through video conferencing and such with students and our English language learners as well. So they should have received the individual remote learning plans last week too. So, but any questions, please reach out to their liaisons.
Okay. All right, all good questions, and thank you for all the information. There's certainly a lot to talk about regarding the current situation. If there are no further questions on the COVID-19 update, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is open public comment, and actually we received no comments in our school committee inbox this week. Janet had emailed me at 5 p.m. and there was nothing there. I would like to remind the community that during this time of public health crisis where we're not having public participation at our meetings, we are asking the public to participate remotely, either by submitting comments through our school committee inbox, which is on the Foxborough Public Schools website, or by calling the central office at 508-543-1660 and leaving a message. So those are your two ways to participate remotely at this time. So since we have no open public comments, we will move on to approval of minutes. And we have our minutes from our April 6th, 2020 regular meeting. Did anyone have any changes to the minutes or additions, revisions? Okay. Could I get a motion?
So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes from the April 6th meeting as written.
Thank you, Rob. Do I have a
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the April 6th meeting minutes? That's 500. Thank you all. All right. Our next, apologize. We're running a little bit behind our schedule, but we're catching up quickly. Dr. Berdos or Dr. Mello, would you like to, our next item is our Director of Student Services finalist interview. Would you like to come up to the table, and would you like to do the introductions?
I would love to. So I am pleased to recommend to you as a qualified candidate for your consideration for Director of Student Services, Mr. Corey Michael Lazik. I will give you a little bit of information here. We have a number of our administrators that are on remotely here, joining in with us. So this is the public interview for the Director of Student Services position. Our screening committee that was led by Dr. Mello took place through many virtual meetings, but I'd like to just recognize, so Dr. Mello was the chair of the group. Karen Frazier, I see Karen up there, she's the principal at Hearn, was on the committee. Pam Anderson, special education department head at the high school. Brent and Rob, our two school committee members, were on the committee. Tanika Ortiz, our school psychologist at the IGO. Carrie Weston was our parent representative. Kim Catan-Skelly, our middle school team chair. Kristen Donovan, a grade 3 teacher at Taylor. Diana Parr, the preschool coordinator at Burrell. Mike Stanton is also up there, principal at the IGO. And Diana Myers-Pakla, I see her up there as well, principal at the high school. So that 12-member screening committee, they put in a lot of time for us to be here this evening. We actually had two rounds. So this is our, we reposted. And as a result, we had two candidates come forward. And Mr. Mazzolea, Mike, I said it right, I think, the first time, Corey. It's a tough one. Michael Lazik has been through 3 interviews already here. So but before we get started, I'd like to just give a little bit of information about Corey here. So in his current position as Director of Student Services in West Bridgewater, he's overseen all aspects of special education. He currently also serves as the principal of the Pre-KK Early Learning Center there as well. His skill set's quite comprehensive in the areas of special education and inclusion programs, the utilization of educational technology, social, emotional, and positive behavior support systems, out-of-district placements and specialized programs, all aspects of the budget and grant programs. And prior to his current role as Director of Student Services, he's also served as an assistant director. He has been a special education teacher and liaison at the high school level and has had experience with alternative and residential programs. Our initial interview team, they felt that he was an impressive candidate that brought energy and passion for students. While he has technical leadership skills necessary to lead student service programs and ensure the least restrictive environment philosophy where school and families are collaborative voices, what stood out was his passion and his adaptive leadership skills. His outside-of-the-box thinking was noted by interview members. He clearly prioritizes trust and relationships, partnerships, and serving what's in the student's best interest. So before I turn it to him to talk a little bit, I wanted to take a minute and just share with you a few quotes that were from some of his letters of recommendation as well as through what we heard back from references. So this is from his current superintendent. He was one of the best hiring decisions I've made in the 30-plus years in education and has truly brought programs to the next level. He is the leader who, given the demands and pressures of public education administration, still does all that needs doing to change students' lives. That's from a parent and a professor at Bridgewater State University. Another letter of recommendation from one of the principals that he currently works with, a passionate defender of what is in the best interest of children. Some comments from my own conversations through references and phone calls. He loves looking at things to see how kids can succeed. Students know him personally and has a genuine caring for kids. He knows every aspect of the job because he's had to do it. Very knowledgeable of the special education laws and is a continuous learner. Visibility is one of his biggest strengths, along with the strong belief that all kids can learn and it is our job to support them and get them there. And this one, he will work his heart out for kids. So many conversations with many folks before presenting Corey here this evening. So Corey, I've talked a lot, but this is to give you a chance to talk a little bit and answer questions from the committee. So would you like me to?
Well, welcome. I feel like I should introduce myself. We usually have name tags, but this, we're not even in our usual meeting site. I'm Tina Ballinger. I'm the chair of the school committee. This is Richard Pearson, our vice chair. Ms. Beverly Lord is over there in her red boa. And you met Mr. Reuter and Mr. Canfield remotely during the interview process, so we're all here. But thank you for joining us tonight. It's great to meet you, and your resume is certainly impressive, and the quotes are even more impressive. What excites you about coming to Foxborough?
I mean, that was probably the best introduction I've ever received, so thank you. But what really interested me was I worked in a town on this, very similar to Foxborough, and what I said through the entire interview process was we did a really good job of comparing ourselves with Foxborough all the time. And so at that time, I left, went to West Bridgewater, and I saw the position posted back in December, and I thought about it, and I said, still too soon, I'm not sure about it. And then I saw it posted again, and I said, this is kind of too good to be true. And as I looked into it, I looked a little further into the district, watched a bunch of meetings, and what you guys are doing with kids right now and the experiences and the opportunities that you're providing for them was really intriguing to me. You guys have some really good specialized programming, and that's kind of my background. And I'm looking forward to kind of just add an enhancement to it, right? I'm not going to come in and change, but add an outside perspective to kids' success. And so looking at Foxborough and the size of Foxborough is a perfect size, and it's a huge, supportive education. Like I said, I watch many meetings, and I can see that it's very visible. And just looking at what I can do in my experiences and how I can kind of bring Foxborough to the next level. And Tom Brady left, so why not, right? The opportunity's here.
Absolutely. Richard, do you have questions for Corey?
Well, I wanted you to touch on your experience. I saw you were a principal, and I don't know what level the Spring Street School was, but
Sure.
And then I don't know, you might have even done 2 jobs at once, maybe principal.
Currently.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. So that's an interesting.
Very
That'd be an
impressive.
interesting one to hear too, right? But
Yeah, so we had so I was originally hired as a student services director, and after a year, the superintendent approached me and asked me if I would be interested in running the preschool and kindergarten building, because at the time, it usually was another building principal that kind of did both schools. They never really had someone that was in-house, and that was where our central offices are. So I was always down in the kindergarten wing anyway, and I oversaw the preschool program, so she kind of approached me about it and asked me if I would be open to it, and I thought it was a year, kind of fix, and then it ended up being another year, and if I was staying in West Bridgewater, it'd probably be a 3rd year, but I really enjoy it. It's a preschool kindergarten building. There's nothing you cannot not enjoy about that, and our central office is there anyway, so I'm always in the classrooms understanding the teachers and the kids, and now it's just a different perspective that I have now. I have a lot more respect for building principals and kind of what they go through and their lens that they're running their buildings with, although we're a smaller scale, the functions and the tasks associated with it are really important, and I think that I've learned a lot from it for sure, and looking to bring that now to this position here in Foxborough and working with these fine folks here.
thank you.
Thank you. Rob, Brent, do you have any questions for Corey or anything you want us to highlight?
So I don't have any questions. I just, Corey, it was certainly a pleasure to meet you a couple of weeks ago. And I think one of the things that impressed me most when we met you the first time was your desire to learn and your desire that is clear based on your work experience and your professional experience. It's clear that you have a passion for this and that you want to consistently challenge yourself to become better at what you do. And I think that that's a really important quality for our leaders. So I'm very excited that you are here with us tonight, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Brent, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll actually piggyback a bit off of what Rob said.
Wait, you always do that. You always let me go first so you can piggyback.
Yeah. Yeah. Why wouldn't I? That way you can say 97% of all the good things.
That's right.
Wonderful. No, Mr. Michael Isaac, it was a pleasure to meet you in the committee, and I just wanted to, for our viewers at home who might be watching this, or people who might see it later, I just wanted to compliment Dr. Mello for her leadership of the committee. And she said it was my first hiring committee experience in Foxborough. And she said, trust in the process. It's exhaustive. And she's right. It's exhaustive. But I was just really pleased with everybody on the committee and how thoughtful that they were throughout the process, and that you brought that same level of thought, energy, and creativity, and frankly, research into the meeting. I personally appreciated that you had done your homework on the district before coming in, and that you could try to imagine yourself in that role. And my greatest hope for the administrative team was that they could find somebody to match the intellect and work ethic and heart that they all bring to it, between central office and the building principals on down. And so I'm very pleased that the process again has returned a very robust candidate. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent, and thank you again to you and Rob and all the members of the search committee for all the work and effort you put into bringing our candidate forward. Bevy, do you have any questions for Corey?
I want to say a great big huge thank you for changing your mind and putting your application in.
Oh, thank you.
This I see as Foxborough's gain.
Awesome.
So thank you for choosing Foxborough.
No, thank you. Thank you for choosing me, potentially.
To Brent's comment, talking about when he had said that Dr. Mello had said, trust the process,
Yeah.
we do have a very thorough
Yes.
process. And under the circumstances that we're in, it was very thorough and very different. So I would like to thank Dr. Mello and her team as well, because it really took a lot of creative thinking about how do we do this in the way that we've always been so thorough, and to be able to make it work. So thank you, because I know it was definitely a very creative process this time, and a lot of virtual meetings too.
Yes, and every member of the committee was so adaptable and so flexible, and people, joining us from their homes, including, our parent volunteer and our members of the school committee. So it really was above and beyond, because it's such an important role, and we wanted to make sure we did our due diligence and that we got the right candidates. So really pleased with the outcome, even though it was long. Thank you for hanging in there and for persevering, but it was great.
And from the candidate perspective, if I can just add, it was just a really seamless experience. So I also want to thank you. It's given the circumstances, I thought I could maybe make it out of not having a Zoom interview, and I said, and then you called, and I said, okay, it's going to be a Zoom interview. But honestly, it was seamless from the start to the finish, and to where I am today. I think you did a fantastic job, so I appreciate it. But no, I'm really thrilled to be here. It's a wonderful community, and I look forward to hopefully bringing the Foxborough Public Schools to the next level, especially education-wise, for sure.
Well, we're excited to have you. Would anyone, Brent, Rob, would you like to make a motion to,
Well,
I move to accept Dr. Berdos's recommendation of Mr. Malazek, or Michael Lazek, sorry, for the post of Director of Student Services.
thank you, Brent.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Rob. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's 500. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to
Congratulations.
Foxborough. We're looking
Thank you.
forward to working with you.
Me as well. Thank you
Going
very
forward.
much.
Thanks
you.
for coming
Congratulations, and
tonight.
don't feel like you have to stay.
If you stay 6 feet away.
That's right.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you again, Allison, Amy. This is it's an exhaustive process, and we appreciate everyone who worked on the committee, and thank you. While we have the principals up there, I wanted to say what a great job they did on their video that is
Yes.
up on the website, and also Mr. Stanton and the IGO School. I saw another video that they made this week with some singing or lip syncing that was pretty impressive as well. So I like it. Keep them coming.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. So, all right. Our next item.
Madam Chair, could I please make one observation?
Yes.
So that perception does not get in the way of understanding. My feeling is, and we've been encouraged at several of our school committee workshops on the Cape, to have people perhaps not working on the policy committee, but people who are not on the policy committee to perhaps suggest bringing a motion forward and somebody else seconding it. The people on the policy committee obviously have felt this is the best, that's why they're there, but it gives other members on the school committee a chance to buy into that. And just like this, obviously Brent and Rob would not have brought the person forward to Allison if they didn't agree with that. So I think it would have been more appropriate if Rich and I had taken those calls today. This is, I know, but this is, you know,
Point
just-
taken, and perhaps next time bring that up during the further discussion part of the motion so that we could, you
Well,
know.
they both kind of jumped right in, but you see what I mean? This is.
I do
this
see
is-
what you mean, but.
And, you know, they've done a good job of convincing her. Did they all do enough good job to convince the three of us? So it's a perception, it's oftentimes becomes a perception thing. So if I had had a choice, I would have done it somehow between Rich and me, if he, but I
Point
mean,
well
for
taken,
further
Beverly.
major
Sorry, I tend to talk fast.
What?
I tend to speak up rather quickly. Forgive me, but I point
No,
well
but
taken.
but do you understand what I mean? This is
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
protect all of us.
Well, I certainly understand. I think we've done it, though, both ways when we've had people come before the committee who have been worked on search committees, and we've had other members who have nominated them in the past, so.
Yeah, well,
But I
this is a
appreciate,
personal preference. I would prefer to see it go the other way for those reasons.
okay, thank you, Beverly.
Okay.
Point well taken. Understood. So our next item is the review of the 2019-2020 school committee dates, and we do have a little bit of adapting to do because the town meeting and the town elections have been moved to June 8th for the elections and June 15th for town meeting. So our next scheduled meeting is not until May 18th. I've been told this meeting room might not be available on the 18th, but it is available on the 11th of May. So I would suggest we move our May meeting to the 11th, which is 2 weeks from tonight, if that's acceptable to the rest of the committee.
So Monday, May 11 at
So
7 here.
Monday, May 11 at 7 here for our next meeting. The 18th is not available. The 25th is Memorial Day. So we would leave our regular meeting on June 1st. And then we need to move our June 15th meeting, because it's town meeting that night, to the following week, June 22nd. Does that work? And that will be our school committee reorganization meeting. Assuming everything goes according to plan, as far as, you know, this is based on the information we have right now about when our elections and our town meeting are going to be, so.
I suspect that's probably fine. I don't have a
Yeah.
major problem. I just don't know if the superintendent will need anything from us in the next month. You know, so if nothing happens in the next 2 weeks and there's no major change in the world and we're doing something, is there any possible need? But I can't think of one. I'm just asking out loud. Is there anything you would need between May 11th and June 1st? That's kind of what but I don't know.
Well, Memorial Day, it kind of.
I know.
It does kind of throw us off. I mean, if
Throws us off.
there was a critical need, we can always.
We can always get
call
together.
a special meeting, and if it had to be not on a Monday.
Fine.
You know, we would roll with it,
So-
if need be. We're in unusual times.
I'm
and
with you.
Your point is a good one, because May 11th to June 1st is quite a stretch.
It's an extra 3 weeks, but
Usually, under normal circumstances, we have a big
yep.
thing there because it's voting day, then
Right.
town
Yep.
meeting day, then reorganization day. So there's always, but our particular school year with the
That's what I
coronavirus
was
makes
thinking.
it unique.
I'm not anticipating anything at all. There's nothing in
No.
my head. I was
But
just
there's
thinking to myself,
always-
oh no, what if we have to help and
It's
support?
always
So-
our prerogative with Tina, between Tina and the superintendent to
Yep.
call an emergency school committee meeting,
Yeah.
even if it has to be remote.
Right.
Fine.
So that's,
Thank you.
hopefully, more
And I-
emergencies.
Yeah, I think if we go with these dates for the time being, and with the understanding that if something does come up that needs to be addressed on an emergent nature, then we'll call a special
Totally.
meeting. So, can we change our school committee calendar then to May 11th? We'll keep the June 1st date and June 22nd, 2020. Okay. Do we need a motion on that, or can we just agree by, Bevy? Do we need a motion? Can we just
I can't
agree on
imagine.
this by consensus?
It's go, yeah, it's just a decision.
Just a decision. Okay, great. Then we're all in agreement on that. Excellent. Thank you. And Janet will make those changes on our calendar on the website. Next on our agenda is the school committee vote to reappoint Dr. Berdos as a voting member of the Bi-County FICO Board of Directors. This is our annual vote. And do you have anything you want to add?
Superintendents for BICO districts, they serve as the voting members, as the board of directors, so it is an annual appointment that you need to do.
Okay.
I would move that we support. Reappoint as our superintendent, Dr. Berdos, to the Board of Directors of the Bi-County Collaborative.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of reappointing Dr. Berdos as a voting member of the Bi-County Board of Directors? 500. Thank you. And thank you. And I'll sign that form tonight before we leave. So you're all set. All right, Bill. Mr. Yukna. Next up is our Borough renovation project update. Since we do not have students in the school, we're reconfiguring the schedule, right?
So we actually started a jump with the month delay that we had looking out to May 4th. So we actually started doing a lot of site work that was actually scheduled for later on this summer. It's actually almost done at this point, which was an infiltration system that had a cross across the front of the building with new piping and stuff. So we got a nice jump there. Now that the school is actually going to be closed, we are starting to empty out the 9 classrooms. Well, we're actually going to empty out 13 classrooms because of the move. And we brought in special crates that are made for moving. And we're going to go classroom by classroom, pack everything up, consolidate it into the cafeteria. And the CTA, the construction company, will actually start the renovation to the front entrance and to those classrooms earlier than June 17th. They will look to be there probably within the next 2 weeks and actually starting that process, which I'm not so sure that it's going to speed the schedule up significantly, but it's going to take a lot of pressure off timing-wise because they'll have more time in which to perform those tasks. The front entranceway is a very daunting process because we're literally ripping that front part of the building wide open, putting in new steel structures, and we're going into the auditorium area and actually having to fill that to make it a flat surface area for the new media center and technology area. So quite a bit of heavy work that has to be done in that, and it's really great that they now, instead of having 10 weeks to do it, we'll have almost 18 weeks to do it. So I think that's a huge plus. Obviously, if we can get further ahead, we will take every advantage we can, but the process is working well. The 2 additions, there is a roof on top of the pre-K already. They're looking to put the final Sonafill roof on it shortly, which would make it possible for us to start finishing inside work with electrical and things of that nature. The gym has a steel structure on it on the top already, and they're looking to complete that roofing system as well. So both those are very good, signs of them moving forward. As you know, we need the gym space to house 6 classrooms as temporary space for September. So again, that moving along well is critical for us. So I think overall the Borough project will have some advantages here, and again, if we can save some time or be able to move the schedule a little bit further forward, that would be great. But really, to me, this is a pressure relief valve that's really going to happen right now, where we can kind of get this work done and make sure it's done right and have a little more time to do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Does anyone have questions for Bill on the project? Wonderful.
It's good news.
Yeah.
The pressure relief valve, what a great option. I mean, to just use this moment to.
It's a tiny little silver lining.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's not what you wish for, but it does.
Right.
But we can capitalize.
From a construction perspective, it's helpful.
Yeah, it is. Thanks.
Yeah, I
Judy.
think it's important that people also understand that under the way the governor's law was as far as social distancing and closing non-essential businesses, that school construction was considered an essential business.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we were able to continue. One union a few weeks ago decided to pull their staff off, which was the Carpenters Union. The glazing unit followed suit with them, but they have since come back onto the site. I think the contractor's taken good steps for safety standards within the site with cleaning stations and obviously enforcing the social distancing as far as the workers go. So far they've done really well with that, but that's the reason we're able to continue through this process, even though many of us are stuck off the grid, if you will.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So moving on to our next item is an acceptance of donation from the Foxborough Rotary Club. And I had a very nice conversation with Kay Anberg from the Rotary Club about this. They are donating $1,000 to be used for distance learning for students at the high school. So,
Excellent.
very generous donation, much appreciated by all of us, and
very timely with the way
very timely.
our
yes.
curriculum is moving.
Yeah, so I'm confident that we will put that $1,000 to very good use in the distance learning in the next few weeks for our students here. So, is there anything you'd like to add, Dr. Branham?
Just really our gratitude. We've had so many people reach out and be so wonderful in how they can help support the schools, whether it's through food service or through laptop donations or through checks such as this, as far as the donations. And the high school was very happy to receive this and think about how can we leverage this in order to impact the most amount of students.
Yeah, it's very appreciated. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept this donation with gratitude?
I'll make the motion to accept this kind generation with gratitude
Thank you.
and enthusiasm.
Absolutely. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of accepting the $1,000 donation from the Rotary Club for distance learning at the high school? 500. And thank you very much to the Rotary Club of Foxborough for their generosity. Very good. Moving on to other matters. In our information section, would you like to read this? This is some very good news in a very discouraging time. This is a beacon of light, so let's talk about this.
Yes, and
This was done with
Richard
all
might
the
have
old-
some extra information that he could actually add from.
Would like that.
From him. So this is to our Foxborough Music Association in that we received some good news, and it's a huge congratulations to the Foxborough Public Schools for being recognized as one of the best communities for music education for 2020. This is a wonderful accolade for all of you, and not only to the music teachers, but the entire school community for their ongoing support of music education in the Foxborough Public Schools. So Foxborough was one of 16 communities in Massachusetts to receive this designation. So Cami Tadoldi, our Director of Music, had shared this with us. And so out of the 2020 best communities for music education, we congratulate all of our music educators for this wonderful distinction.
And this was achieved on all those old repaired, multi-time repaired instruments.
Yeah.
Now that's dedication.
Well, I knowing a little bit about what what goes into this and the association that recognizes everyone, this is really for what should be seen as a comprehensive, full music education by a whole system. So it's not just about our high school or this band or that chorus. This is about the whole package, and that's what these entities look for. Those specific and those unique communities that have a strong base and support system, K to 12, for music education. And, huge thank goes out to the staff The music staff, which we all know is just so vibrant, so alive in what they do. But also a huge thanks goes out to the community for supporting music and the arts. This just doesn't happen in every community. And I'm certainly very proud of it, having been a music educator myself and from the system. But this is a community thanks, as well as leadership and educators thanks as well. So thank you everyone for making it happen.
Absolutely. It's an amazing honor, and it is completely well-deserved.
Yeah.
And yes, you said it best. The support of the community is without a doubt the underpinning for all of it. So
It's a very special place for music.
it's very good news. Any other matters under other matters?
Well, and Mr. Yukna can speak a little bit about this. So we just received word from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security's Office of Grants and Research, where it's a grant that Bill wrote for safer schools for local equipment and technology. And we just received word that we received this grant for $50,000.
Nice. That is, congratulations. Thank you, Bill. You want to tell us a little bit more about it? Bill?
Yes, we've been working with the Foxborough Police and Fire Department for the last year and a half on communications throughout the building. As you know, we have our own radio systems that we use as far as the principals and custodians to be able to communicate within the buildings. The police department have theirs and the fire department have theirs. The problem with two of our bigger buildings, the Ahern and the high school, is that because of their size and their construction, mostly block and steel, radio signals do not transmit well through the buildings from the inside to the outside and vice versa. So in working with them, they've been really looking for us to try to figure out a way to put in these devices, which they're called BDAs, but what they are is basically antennas that are boosters to produce the signal and make it stronger and go outside the building. They're very expensive, and one building just in equipment cost is about $45,000. So obviously looking at our budget and looking at different things, we didn't have, $100,000 sitting around that we could just go out and do this. So we started looking at these grants. We had applied for a grant in the fall, which we received as well. So it's kind of surprising that we got both of these in the same year. The fall one gave us the ability at the IGO and the Taylor to rekey the exterior doors throughout the buildings, add more fob controls, and really make the buildings tighter and more secure that way. So we decided with this $50,000, after talking to both police and fire, that we're going to do the system within the high school. Initially, and again, so that $50,000 between the cost of the equipment and the electrical work that needs to be done will basically cover it, and we will obviously make the Ahern our next priority, and hopefully, whether it's through another grant or other funding that comes available, we will attack that one. But I think this is a great opportunity to really strengthen the buildings, and anytime we can, we are trying to do that. And again, I appreciate the fact that the process through the state basically put us in a position to be able to do it.
Well, thank you, and it is very exciting news. Glad to hear it. Wonderful.
I have a couple other things under other matters.
Yes, please, go ahead, Bill.
So a few weeks ago, the board allowed me to go through the negotiations on the BICO transportation side to put together a deal that basically would amend our agreement with Vanpool which is the supplier of most of our, or actually all of our transportation for out-of-district students. And I sat and worked on that with Deb Cicerone, who is my counterpart at BICO, and Arlene Grubert. And we were able to structure a deal with Vanpool, which is now becoming the model for the state for all the Vanpool agreements. Obviously, we political suicide if they did something for us and didn't do it for others. There were some structured deals that weren't as good as this with Vanpool already, so they're going to benefit from us pulling this deal together. The deal basically gives us a 22% discount from their billing, even though we will cover their services for the balance of the school year. The justification really for that is we signed a contract with them to provide these services, which required them to have not only the equipment, the radio and communications technology, the facilities, the training staff and everything to put this program together. So even though they aren't transporting our students right now, they still have that significant investment in the contract that we basically required of them. Now, BICO has 14 districts that are involved with this transportation network. And to date, only one seems to be questioning this agreement. 13 seem to be in support of it. And the very largest ones are strongly in support of it. So I'm very comfortable that this is a good deal for the town. The deal basically, Vanpool was only able to get one federal tax break, if you will, and that is for keeping their employees, which is advantageous for us because if we open up, at the time we started negotiation, we thought we might open up before the end of the year. However, we still may open up for the extended school year during the summer, and we need those vans ready to go, drivers in them, and able to transport those kids. So by them keeping their staff, they're available for us and ready to go whenever we are. We also got the discount to go back from day one, so it starts on March 16th. Okay. Further, if they got additional federal or state grants or reductions in their cost, they would be passed along to us. They can't offer a better discount to anybody else without giving it to us. And the general sense I have here is that, from our perspective, this puts us in the best stead it can. So what will be asked, it's not a vote from you as a committee. Obviously, I hope you guys will all support it from the town's perspective. But the superintendents will have a meeting coming up in May that the amendment will be proposed to the contract. It's only through the end of the school year, and they will vote on it because they vote on all of these contracts through BICO itself. So basically, I'm just looking for you to support Amy in voting for our district to support this amendment.
Well, it sounds like an advantageous amendment to the contract for us. So thank you.
Do you need a vote from us?
No.
I don't believe so. I think like you did before, a consensus that you're in support of Amy supporting it. That would be a good thing.
Very good.
Excellent. So I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads here. I know I'm in support of us supporting it. Everyone else is in agreement about this. Great. All right. Wonderful. So thank you, Bill, for that update. Did you have something else?
Yes. Obviously, because of the financial times we're facing right now for the town revenue-wise, I've been talking, and Amy and I had a meeting with Bill and Mike and George and Marie on taking some actions now financially that will put the town in a little bit better position as we move forward. So the general concept is that the revenues for FY20 are pretty solid because, quite honestly, most of this COVID-19 stuff didn't really come into play until the final quarter of the year. Obviously, the biggest hit will be in local receipts will be to hotel and meals tax as reductions. Now, as you know, those aren't part of regular operating budget. They're only spent on the road work and on the OPEB liability, but we feel comfortable that those can be covered for this year as proposed. Going forward, the recommendation I believe Bill will be to hold off on the actual payments of those or making those until we have a better picture of what's really going to happen. So again, it's not an operating budget change, so it doesn't really impact us at this point. However, the CIP budget, which does impact some use of free cash and some use of the overlay surplus, the decision has pretty much been made to reduce it down to the few items that have to be done for technical reasons. And on our side, as you know, we had a number of buses originally. We had copiers. We had $200,000 on IT renewal. We originally asked for the music program, and some things had been cut already through the process. We did have 2 buses still on the charter to go forward. I have asked that we'll hold off on the second of the two big buses that we originally wanted to buy, but because the DOT has already told us they will not allow us to put one of our minis back on the road this coming fall, we need to order that one as a replacement so that we can transport the kids back at school time. So we're going to go from our original request of 3, which went down to 2 at the CIP committee, now down to 1, and put the others on hold until a later date in the year, hopefully, if the financial thing doesn't come as bad as we expect. On the IT side, there are certain things that we have to do on not even just on an annual basis, but just that are programmed out by Aaron that are very important. Some of them deal with license renewals, some of them deal with firewall replacements, things that are coming out of age and date-wise that are no longer going to be supported. So of the 200,000, we've pretty much gotten that down to 100,000 that we are going to need to move forward with just to keep all of these networks going, and especially in this time where we're not even sure what this remote access is going to need to be going forward. We've had to actually boost up in that area and probably will have to make sure that we're prepared to do whatever is needed if something were to reoccur. So we're looking to drop it. The town side's going to drop its side a little as well. And that's all we're going to ask for on the CIP. So basically, we'll be getting the one bus at 82,500 and the 100,000 on the CIP for network infrastructure and back room as well as so we're not going to be in our normal replacement of computers. So we're a fair warning here. It's kind of as Aaron kind of put it, we're creating a financial cliff here because if money does not become available in let's say later in the fall or even later in the winter time, so that we can get back into that cycle, we will have that much further behind on equipment issues. And I will also warn you, one of the biggest things both Aaron and I are concerned about is that as we are putting computers out in the field for students to have access to our things, those are our frontline computers that we use in our classrooms to do not only testing, but to do our curriculum. So it's going to be very important that when we get those back that we make sure that they're all fully operational. And that if we have issues that we're either going to have them repaired or get them replaced. So that's a concern we have because it is frontline instructional equipment right now that's out there. And, it's doing the job it needs to do. So we don't have any issue with that, but we do have an issue with what the fall will look like for that equipment.
So the overall
that's
CIP,
kind of our update on the budget.
so the overall CIP is down to, is it 175,000 from our original?
182,500.
I'm sorry?
182,500.
182,500, okay.
That was originally 588,000.
Thanks for the update, Bill. Does anyone have any questions on that? Brent, I see your hand.
Thanks. Follow up, Bill. Is that something you can send, or Jana can send a revised draft of what you're looking at?
Sure. As far as CIP overall?
No, it was very clear.
No, actually, because what I asked was for the town to send their whole thing, which would include us, which I think would be very informative for all of us to be able to see the changes that are being made. But again, I think it's a smart decision at this point between CIP and the spending for OPEB and things to put the brakes on here a little, and let's make sure that we have the resources. I'm going to warn you right now that I think the talk on the state level is that state funding may drop by probably a minimum of 10%, but could be higher. In our case, we bring in a total of $11 million in state funding. A good portion of that goes to the charter schools. So we're probably looking at a number of around 800,000 that would be attributed to. Because obviously whatever they affect us with, they affect the charter school. I don't think they can be untouched on that. So so the concern there is it's real money. That's a difference. General things in the tax base, whether it's your real estate taxes or your auto taxes, those don't change, going forward as far as what they are. But the potential for state aid is a real concern that there's going to be a hit there, as well as, again, changes in the local aid or local receipts.
Thank you as ever for predicting my question before I asked it. if you had I mean, an estimation, and if you don't, that's fine, of when the other shoe might drop in terms of that for, you know, FY21 looking ahead.
Well, you know, it's happened before, and it wasn't even with this type of serious of an issue that we didn't see state projections until almost, you know, the end of June. I really think based on what they're trying to, you know, slice and dice out to the communities to figure out how to support us right now, it's in their view, but it's not their top priority right now. So I think that's where we are.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, could he, maybe just for our next school committee meeting, he can just submit a detail of that CIP, that whole? Sure. That would be wise, I think, just to put it down on paper.
And just going back to this year, FY20, I know there was some discussion at the advisory committee meeting last Wednesday about whether, what we as a school department might do if we have funds left over at the end of this year, if there are any savings that we are, you know, from not having the students in session. Can you speak to that a little bit, Bill?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, and as I, you know, brought up to both the AdCom as well as the town administration, in our budget process, we did advise everybody that we have our own problem with about a $500,000 short fund in the out-of-district tuitions because of what happened this year with the number of move-ins and stuff.
Right.
We've made a lot of moves internally to reduce to be able to cover that $500,000. We were fortunate to have a little in salary side that gave us a little bit of a cushion, but we had a long way to go. We did apply for the extraordinary relief under the circuit breaker, which means that you've spent 25% more than you had the previous year. We just made it. And so that obviously could be a big help. That could be, if, you know, depending on how many other people have requested it, it could be anywhere from 200 to 300,000 that we bring in to spend this year against that.
Yeah.
I have to caution you that the only problem with that is if we get the money, they will then come back in and audit us at the end of the year like they typically do on the circuit breaker. And if for some reason we don't qualify at a later time, then potentially you owe the money back. So it's not like we have a guarantee that we know until they've done that final audit that everything ticks and ties. It's a little bit, you know, dicey because we have so much stuff changing on the out-of-district placement tuitions and stuff. So it's all based on what you spend. Well, if something changes in how you're spending it with them, that could create an issue for us. But that would be the bright side. Obviously, it's a huge advantage to the community if we can get it. And obviously, you know, we at this point think we do have it from what we've been told. I think the other side of this is that if what we have said, and I've said this, I think, before to you as a community, we're not looking to spend money. We typically give back, you know, what at the end of each year, we've given back well over $100,000 on a regular basis for anything that we just didn't need in a general sense. Now, obviously, most of our budget, 80% of it's salaries, and we, you know, obviously are still teaching kids, and we're, you know, dealing with issues within the buildings. The maintenance staff and custodial staff is coming back to a more regular schedule now to clean the buildings and get things completed and run through. We've got, you know, food services supplying food to, you know, our students. They've been doing about between 120 and 130 meals a day, 7 days a week, you know, but we're delivering them twice a week to do that. We have bus drivers who actually are delivering food to people who have had issues as far as being able to get to the access to the food, as well as other items that people have asked or requested that they needed. So, you know, we've got people working throughout the district. In our expenses, it's 100%. We're not spending, you know, I think the AdCom's favorite thing is I'm not buying copy paper, but, well, I truly am not buying copy paper right now. And there's a lot of other expenses that go along with that. So for about a third of the year, we've got a lot of expenses that are dropped. We dropped temperatures in buildings, to a point that was reasonable for people to work in them, but not having to keep them to what you would if you were occupying them. So we've been doing as much as we can to curtail our costs. Obviously, buses not being on the road, we're not spending fuel, but our total fuel savings is probably going to be around $22,000 for that period of time. Again, it's a savings, but the anticipation would be first, we pay our out-of-district tuition costs, and whatever funds we have left over from that point, we will give back to the town. Unless, you guys feel differently, but I think that's been our practice in the past. I think this will be a little bit boosted. If we can cover that with the extraordinary relief, I think we will be giving back a fair amount this year, more than we have in a long time.
No, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Brent, did you have something, or were you just adjusting your glasses there?
Both. No, I was. Bill, what's when is the final audit in regarding?
The final audit's usually right at the end of after the school year ends. So, hopefully before the end of June, but not always. But we will be pushing for it, and they will be too, because we'll be one of those few communities that has that relief valve.
Right.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have anything for other matters?
Just a quick update on the IGO principal search.
Yes.
So we actually reposted the position, and it will be open until May 8th, and we will begin our interview process again. So the committee is on standby. They are ready to go. And if we can find a way to accelerate that process a little bit, we will. Everyone's been great and flexible, so we're excited to get that on the road.
Thank you.
Mr. Pearson will be back in action.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
I just would like to say thank you to the administration, all the staff that is working so hard.
Yeah.
The staff, like all those lunches being made and all of cleaning our buildings and everybody. And the teachers and the students who understand even less than we do. And best of luck to all our seniors during this disappointing time.
Thank you. I think we all are in agreement in thanking our
Absolutely.
administration, faculty, staff, parents, everyone in the community who is supporting our students and our families right now. I did want to say, I had one thing to mention. Heather Harding had contacted me as chair of the rec department board to remind me that we need to, not that we can replace you, but we need to have a school committee representative on the recreation board. So
Well, I've been reminding that.
I know. I just wanted
14 years I've reminded.
you have been a stalwart representative of the school committee on the recreation board, but it is time for us to step up and find someone to fill those shoes. If the
your
committee,
reorganization.
when we do our reorganization, the end of June, we will need to do that. So I just wanted to put it out there to our other committee members so they can be thinking about that and whether it's an opportunity they want to avail themselves of and going forward. So, and thank you for your service on that, in that respect, as well as your service to the school.
T-shirts, and you'll get to help out with fishing derbies, and you'll get to read stories, and you'll get to paint the recreation equipment on the
Way to sell it.
It'll keep you very busy. May I do an aside here? Because,
Certainly.
It's about the voting that is coming up because it's postponed. And right now, they are going to encourage as many of us as possible to vote by mail. I was asked to call Bob Cutler. He said, thank you for your service, but we are not allowing anybody 65 or older to even go near the polls on June 8th. And because of the distancing, they will only have one person at each table. Therefore, they are hoping that, I don't know when they're going to start the campaign and advertising this. They're hoping many of us. I said, well, can I come in and vote? And he said, well, we don't want older people out, and we really are going to encourage voting by mail for this particular term. Like Town Hall will not be open for the early voting. And all of that, so.
How do you request a ballot by mail? Do you know, Bevy?
I don't know how, they're going to try.
All right. So we'll stay tuned for more information on that, Jeff. Just go online and request it that way?
Yeah, but
Okay.
there should be a major announcement, because, we can't, nobody except the employees can come into this
Yeah.
building now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that up and alerting
I just thought,
everyone. No,
it would be
it's- we're talking about it. So it's good information to have, and I'm sure that we will all try to avail ourselves of that option as well. So thank you for that. Is there anything else? Rob, Brent, anything to add? Okay. I just want to thank Mike Weber again for all of Foxborough Cable Access's help in getting our remote participants up. And the technical side of this is so impressive. I know I couldn't do it. So thank you, Mike, for that. And also thank you in advance for all the help that you're going to give us in putting together some phenomenal events for our senior class in the next few weeks. So we are blessed in this town to have Foxborough Cable Access as a wonderful community partner in so many respects, but particularly for our schools. And I just wanted to thank you and all of the volunteers at FCA for that. So, Richard, did you have anything?
Nothing.
All right. Well, in that case, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Go ahead, guys.
I will make a motion that we adjourn the meeting for the evening.
Brent?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any
Yay.
further discussion? All those in favor of adjournment? That would be 5-0-0. Good night, everybody. Thank you.